Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Ways Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on Ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country and largest democracy, has faced persistent challenges in ensuring free, fair, and credible elections. Despite progress in democratic governance, electoral processes have been marred by controversies, violence, and allegations of manipulations. In response, prioritizing electoral reforms has become imperative for strengthening Nigeria's democracy, enhancing political stability, and fostering public trust in electoral institutions. It's another beautiful episode on your favorite primetime show, Ways. My name remains Osayuame Sali, and today we're discussing, we're addressing the issue around prioritizing electoral reforms in Nigeria. Now, remember, what are you saying is about you. Yes, you are the why in Ways. So be a part of the conversation every single day. Add your voice to the discussion. You can also head on to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. Hit the subscribe button, like, share. Please share. And also invite your friends and frenemies, everyone, to join the show while we're live. Now, when I open the phone lines, I really love to hear your thoughts on this topic. As always, let me allow you to ponder on my quote for the day. This achievement reflects our enduring commitment to responsible economic governance and national development. This was from the, the House of Representative member Tajuddin Abbas. Okay, so we'll delve into all of this much later, but first, let me run off on a break. I'll let you in on my news interests when I come back from that break.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Hi, thanks for staying tuned. Now, white smoke rises as new pope is elected at the Vatican. So the report says white smoke billowed right from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel on Thursday, signaling that cardinals locked inside have elected a new leader for the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. Thousands of pilgrims and curious onlookers in St. Peter's Square cheered and applauded as the smoke appeared and bells began to ring, indicating that the 2,000-year-old institution has its 267th pope. All eyes now turn to the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to see who has been elected to succeed Pope Francis, an Argentine reformer who died last month after 12 years as leader of the worldwide church. He faces a numerous task, that's the new pope now, as well as asserting his moral voice on a conflict-torn global stage. He faces burning church issues, from the continued fallout from sexual abuse scandal to the Vatican's troubled balance sheet. Some 133 princes of the church from 5 continents, the largest conclave ever, began voting on Wednesday afternoon. And they have, of course, made a choice, and they've sworn in to secrecy on the pain of excommunication. Their only means of communicating their progress to the outside world was by sending up smokes through the chimney, yes, of the chapel. So let us look out for who the new pope would be. I saw some pictures, and I saw a black man. I said, is that going to be possible? I don't know about that. I'm not Catholic, so I really don't know the dynamics in it, but yes. Congratulations to all our Catholic friends and family. All right, so I'll move on to the next story. Akpabio seeks court order for Natasha to delete her satirical apology. Okay, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has petitioned the Federal High Court in Abuja to compel suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to delete this, the apology she posted on her social media pages. On the 27th of April, she had shared a short video in which she mockingly apologized to Akpabio, claiming it was for not allowing him to have his way with her. Akpoti-Uduaghan stated she was sorry for the crime of maintaining her dignity and her self-respect, and for rejecting the advances of the Senate President, whom she implied believed no one could refuse him. The presiding judge, Justice Binta Nyako, on the 4th of April, restrained all parties involved in the suit from making any public comments about the ongoing case. Meanwhile, Akpabio's legal team, led by Kande Ogunwumiju, has filed a fresh application asking the court to direct Akpoti-Uduaghan to delete the video, arguing it violated a judge's directive. In his application, Akpabio's lawyer also requested the court to order Uduaghan to remove the post from all her social media accounts. Additionally, the lawyer, Akpabio's lawyer, urged the court to mandate Akpoti-Uduaghan, Natasha, to publish a written apology in at least 2 national papers and file an affidavit confirming her compliance. It's okay. Like that's ever going to happen. Why are you people asking for something that we know, you and I know, that it is not possible that she's going to do that? I mean, if anything, Natasha has shown, she has shown the Senate President that she is not a pushover, and she has shown him that she's not one to run, you know, at the face of a fight, right? She's taking him head on. So we are so excited about this. I'm hoping that we get more. I've said it several times. I'm really looking forward to more evidence is just flying all over the place, because that's all we want to see at this point. All right, so I'll move on to my, I believe this is my final story for the day. This is in line with EFCC. So court admits document EFCC tried to block in Yahaya Bello's case. So while EFCC has argued before Justice Nwite that the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, laundered the state's money and used part of it to pay for all his children's tuition at the American International School, Abuja, the defense team urged the court to admit into evidence a judgment already declared on a similar issue at the FCT High Court, which is in favor of the defendant, that's Yahaya Bello. The EFCC, however, overwhelmingly objected to the admissibility, while the admissibility of the judgment became an issue of intense disagreement between prosecution and the defense team. Justice Nwite adjourned to deliver a ruling on it today. Bello is facing a 19-count money laundering charges to the tune of 80 billion naira brought against him by the EFCC. While delivering a ruling on the admissibility of the judgment document, Justice Nwite recalled that the EFCC's lawyer, Kemi Pinero, had objected, saying that the trial was a criminal trial and the defendant could not tender documents when the prosecution had not closed its case, and urged the court to reject the document. The defense lawyer, on his part, argued that the admissibility of the document was exclusively by the principle of relevance. It's okay. You know, this Yaya Bello's case is something that we are just going to be looking at the situation, because we've said this several times, he's not the only person in this pool. Several ex-governors, ex-politicians or whatever it is, have been indicted, saying that they have a lot of, answers for the EFCC as regards to issues around financial crimes. But, you know, as we've said several times, how they moved to the ruling party and all of a sudden things are being shielded. So we will just keep watching and observing how the APC-led government will handle some of the corrupt cases that we've all talked about. It's been in the news, you know, and all of that. The governor of, or the immediate past governor of Delta State, same thing. That's what's his name now? Okowa, same thing. He has a case of over 1 trillion naira, you know, hanging on his neck. Now he has defected to APC. Let's just see how all of this is going to play out. EFCC is meant to be a neutral body. EFCC is supposed to be an independent body that fights financial crimes in this country. And one of the biggest issues that we have seen over and over again are that in Nigeria, it seems like a lot of people in government offices, they actually, you know, embezzle money. There are lots of financial crimes that go on, you know, under their leadership, you know, in government, that occupy government public offices. So I still don't understand why EFCC is unable to prosecute and actually convict a lot of people, because there are so many people that if we really want to dissect, you know, financial crime in this country, too many people will be indicted. How they've not been able to convict people and throw them in jail, you know, and recover some of the looted funds, it still beats my imagination. But hey, we'll keep on watching, and we'll just continue to observe what is going on with the EFCC. All right, we'll go on a break. When we come back from that break, we'll discuss electoral reforms in the country. Stay with me.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time. Nigeria, by extension, Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, the House of Representatives, they've resumed their plenary session, as you all know. And part of what they've done is they have promised to prioritize critical initiatives. So one of which is the electoral reforms. Now, the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, he emphasized the importance of accelerating action on electoral reforms to strengthen Nigeria's democratic processes. Second point that they are trying to also ensure is security, that the House will focus on addressing security concerns, including renewed investment in security intelligence, surveillance technology, interagency coordination. They also touched on economic and social issues, right? Which would be the underemployment and poverty alleviation, so they would aim their aim is at reducing unemployment and poverty, and they would ensure that they give those two concerns, a lot of attention. Some other reforms would be the fiscal reform. So the House would work on fiscal reforms to improve nation's economic governance. They also touched on healthcare and education. So the bills impacting healthcare and education will also be prioritized to improve the lives and livelihood of Nigerians. Now, I love all the things that they have mentioned, right? So it is also clear that it tells you that these people are not completely ignorant of the challenges that we face in this country. Security is one of them. Our healthcare, is, almost like it needs a lot of help. Educational system, we have issues there. We need a lot of reforms, and we need to also fight or curb this high rate of unemployment and poverty. So really, it tells you that the House is clear on the challenges that we have. But let us even touch on the need for electoral reforms, right? You see, when we are clamoring for electoral reforms, we need to be clear that without leadership or without governance, we can't sustain this country. We need the right set of people to be elected so we are able to see the dividends of democracy. We're able to harness the potential that the country has. See what is happening, for instance, in Burkina Faso and what is going on, how Traoré is literally giving everybody a run for their money, taking back the country, taking back their resources, investing it in his people. That's the kind of leadership we will really need at this time. And you can only get that because we are a democratic country. We can only get that through electoral reform. So one of it, the need for it would be that we need electoral credibility. Because if you check, past elections have been criticized for lack of transparency. There's always the issue around vote rigging and violence, right? This undermines the credibility of the electoral outcomes. As I've said this thing, and I think I'll repeat it over and over again until it sinks in. The 2023 general elections, I have no problem with whoever eventually emerged as president, as governors, as whatever. The problem I have is the process to which they emerged. Imagine if everything based on the Electoral Act and all of that, that they've said, okay, electronic transmission of result. Imagine if we truly had all of those indices. Like, you know, you literally can check to say, okay, yes, this one, now we vote on with our full chest. We can't boast of that with this current leadership, because what we saw that happened at polling units were a complete far cry from what the eventual results became. So whether people actually voted, right, is at this point, I want our election process to be unquestionable. That's what I'm looking for. Unquestionable. So you cannot question it. Why? Because everybody will see the process. They will see the system. They will see how everything is being transmitted, how the thing is being collated, you know, leveraging technology. So the need for reform would be, one, that credibility of our elections. We need it because over the years, and this is not even stopping at one party, it seems like all parties rig. The only thing we see in Nigeria is the best rigger gets the seat. You understand? It is like, may the best rigger win. That's what happens in Nigeria, and that has to stop. Another need for reforms would be that we need stronger institutions, because our institutions right now, they are so weak. And the weaknesses, you know, that we have in these electoral institutions, right, like INEC, our Independent National Electoral Commission, that body, the INEC is weak. It cannot stand on its own, right? And that has hindered the effectiveness of our electoral processes. INEC is still tied to the people in power. And you should be an independent National Electoral Commission, meaning that you are not biased in any form. It means that you are not affiliated to any political party. You are doing your job in the most credible way. But what we have seen over the years is that INEC as a body seems to not have that capacity, doesn't have that strength to stand as an independent body. So why we're asking for electoral reforms is because we need to strengthen INEC as an independent body. Let it really become truly independent. Another reason we are asking for political reforms would be political inclusivity, right? Political inclusivity, where we're ensuring that all citizens have equal opportunities to participate in the electoral process. And this has to be sacrosanct. We saw what happened in the 2023 general elections, where certain people came out boldly and warning people not to come out. One is a specific tribe not to come out, that if you come out, whatever you see, you take it. And yet, nobody was prosecuted. You understand? Because it seemed like, you know, because maybe I'm from Edo State, does it mean that I do not have the right? Even though I live and I work in Lagos State, I don't have the right to vote who becomes my governor here. So it means like, so what we saw in 2023, people like literally threatening people, certain tribes to say, do not come out don't even bother, don't come out. And that shouldn't have been the case. But that was what we saw. So we are asking for electoral reforms because we want political inclusivity. Nobody should be left out. Everybody should be allowed to vote freely and to vote their consciences. And they should be able to vote without the fear of any form of attack. Because we saw it, where people were attacked. We saw that woman that had, half of her face, covered in blood just because she went out to vote, to perform her civic duty. And yet, people were not prosecuted. Another reason we're asking for electoral reforms, right, is technological integration. This one, I just beg. How can we be at this age and time where technology is getting easier and sweeter by the day? Why are we not leveraging technology to enhance that transparency and efficiency, right? And of course, the security of the electoral process. Why? I'll tell you why. Politicians know that the moment they introduce technology in its true sense, right, a lot of these things that they get away with, they will not see it. Look at what happened in some parts in Kano, where we saw children voting. Children. Like we saw a lot of underage children voting. All of these things, when technology is in place, right, and of course, it is effectively deployed, it will not only bring efficiency, it will also secure the electoral process that we can monitor. We were here, right here in Nigeria, monitoring how the votes were being counted in the US. That is because they have leveraged technology. We saw, I joined different podcasts when the US elections was ongoing. They were live there. Everybody was collating results. So as the mainstream media, they were collating their results. Podcasters were collating results. Everybody was collating results. Why? Because the process is driven heavily by technology. Those countries have leveraged technology. And Nigeria, we cannot say that we cannot leverage technology because we have everything it takes to be able to take advantage of technology and then use it for a more transparent, a more efficient, and a more secured electoral process. So why are we not doing that? That's why we're asking for electoral reforms. And you might ask, what are the objectives of these electoral reforms? As I've said before, it would enhance electoral integrity. It will strengthen the independence and the capacity of the electoral institutions like INEC to conduct free and fair elections. Right? That will be one of the objectives of these electoral reforms. INEC would intentionally now become that body where they say, okay, yes, once INEC declare, don't declare. And it's not, INEC is not declaring because he wants to first of all wait to hear from the presidency to say, who do we know? I always say that at the polling unit, let the best man actually win. Let the people's choice prevail. And you can only do that when the process is transparent. Over the years, one of the things that we have heard is that after you have even done voting, right, it is not at the polling units that results are being altered. It is at the collation center. Why do we need collation center? Right? We can just set up an entire situation room. From the polling unit, you send the results straight to the situation room, and somebody is observing and monitoring it. That's it. We don't need a collation center. Because that's where all the mago-mago happens. That's where somebody will be there that have already prepared, pre-prepared, thumbprints. So the objective is to ensure that we have enhanced electoral integrity. Another objective would be to promote inclusivity. I've said this several times. Ensure that all citizens, nobody should be marginalized. Right? Nobody should be excluded from the electoral process. As long as you are 18 and you are above 18, you are a citizen of this country, then you should have equal access to participate in the process. And you can only do that when there are better electoral reforms. Improve transparency, I've said it several times again. It would implement measures to increase transparency in the electoral process. Vote counting and declaration of results. If that process is digitized, for instance, we will not be having some of the problems that we are faced with over the past. One of the biggest problems, again, that we have in our elections is violence. As I said it before, the woman that had her face covered in blood, there were so many stories, I can't even remember all of them now. Right? For us to be able to address the root causes of this electoral violence, right, curb it, we must go back to the electoral reforms because it will be one of the things that would help us to address it. And it will also help us to implement strategies to prevent violence during the elections. When you know that there is nothing you want to do, all these ballot box snatching and all of those things that happen during the elections, if the system, in fact, if we start to do electronic voting that is even paperless, which ballot box do you want to, is it a computer you want to take, or what exactly are you going to take? I don't know if this would truly be something that we can achieve, right? But I'm hoping that we can. But one of the things that I have feared is that if a president or a governor or a whatever, a senator, House of Rep member was elected through a rigged process, and he knows that the only way the person achieved or got into that position was because there was opportunity to rig, would you think that person would be willing to sit down and sign a document that would say, no, going forward, there will not be rigging? I doubt that. So that's the only fear that I have, that when will this cycle of electoral malpractices and all of that, when will that cycle stop? When would it be broken? When will it end? Right? That's the only fear that I have. But to say that, electoral reform is not a subject to bring forth at the table right now, that would be us not being truthful with ourselves. There is a lot of flaws when it comes to our electioneering process, and we need to start to intentionally start to call for it now. We can't wait till it is close to the elections and we're talking about it. The way our politicians have started campaigning for 2027, let the citizens start to intentionally demand for electoral reforms. So we'll go on a short break. When we come back from that break, I'll share more insight. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, we are discussing how we can prioritize electoral reforms in Nigeria. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also send us an add me on WhatsApp. When you say add me, we'll add you via video. Now, the phone lines to call are 070-25007749 or 070-1424-2420. Let's hear what you have to say. Please join the conversation. Do not wait till 2027 before you say, because this is the thing. Politicians are so strategic and they understand how where we have weaknesses. One of our weaknesses as a people, like we literally wait till when it's time or when it's too late for us to start to demand certain things. You see your politicians, immediately they became presidents, governors, or whatever in 2023 when they were sworn in. That it was immediately they started campaigning for 2027. And trust me, by the time they get to 2027, they will start to campaign immediately for 2032. Abi, that is it, right? Or 2031. What's the 4 years after that? 27, So it's important for us as a people to ensure that we start to demand for some of these things. One of the biggest things that would help us so that we'll stop having repeat cycle every time is if we're able to change the way our elections are, conducted, change the way the entire electoral process, overhaul it. If we do that, we would have better, better candidates presented. So let me tell you how it works. Because you know that at the polling unit, nothing can be changed. What political parties would intentionally start to do is that they would start to bring their best foot forward, meaning that at the point of, before they even get to ballot, they will make sure that they have screened that candidate, because they know that by the time the candidate gets to that ballot box, right, it is going to be his credibility, it's going to be his pedigree, it will be all of those things that would allow us, the people, vote. That is if there is a transparent electoral process. So it will now ensure that every political party, they will not just bring anybody that has questionable character. They will not just bring anyhow candidate. They will ensure that this candidate, he has track record. And this candidate can naturally, be endeared to the people, and they would naturally want to vote for that candidate. So you see how this works. Let us be intentional about asking for the right things right now and going to doing, demanding for that. So our recommendation would be we need to strengthen INEC, right? We need to strengthen INEC's independence. Ensure that INEC's autonomy and impartiality, it's established by clarifying its powers and protecting it from political interference. If INEC is still going to be tied to the ruling party, then we have a problem. If INEC's decision will be based on how the ruling party says go, we'll have a problem. We need to strengthen our judiciary, because we've also seen that if they are able to miss it at INEC, when they go to the courts, what eventually happens? The court will then say, oh, no. Let's throw out all the evidences and all of that and declare this person winner. That's how it works. So you see that the problem we have in Nigeria are institutional. And for us to solve our problem, it is not an individual that we need to change. It is the entire institution that we need to overhaul. We need to start to intentionally build institutions that are bigger than one person. One of the challenges, again, that we face when it comes to electoral reforms, voters' registration process. However, 2023 was quite a very, very revealing, year for me, because I saw the energy. I saw how people were really, really intentional about going through that entire process. So we actually had a good number of people. Even INEC had said it, that a good number of people, and the demography were the youth population. While we had a lot of fresh, 18-year-olds going to go and get their voters registration, done and all of that. And we had a lot of people go and make sure that they had their voters card. So if we do that, if we enhance voters registration process, including the use of biometrics technology and voter verification, like all that entire process, let's not go there and they say, oh, this thing is not working or whatever. And if there is a way, right, that the process cannot be cumbersome. I remember when I was going to go and collect my voter's card, oh my God, it was chaotic. It was chaotic. Literally, I was going through, if not because, at least to some extent, I had called ahead. It was a tough process. That alone can be very discouraging for people to want to even do it. So as much as possible, if INEC starts the process now. I know people also try to wait for dime minutes, but we need to start to intentionally, right, kill that attitude of fire brigade approach. Let us kill that attitude. So let the sensitization and the conversation start to, with a lot of intensity. Let us start to have those conversations, and maybe we would, intentionally mark up the numbers, when it comes to voters registration. I cannot overemphasize the fact that increased transparency would really help. We must implement measures to increase transparency in the electoral processes. I've said it again, vote counting, vote declaration. So no longer having to have a collation center. Right from the polling unit, can we just send our result straight to the situation room where everybody is seeing it? So it is being uploaded. So the agents, they can check and cross-check to say, okay, what was registered here is the exact same thing. Like everything done electronically. I don't think this is rocket science. You understand? I don't think it's rocket science. I feel like the reason we are not embracing technology is because it is only, it is, if we continue to do the paper, the brick and mortar structure that we have currently with our result collation, that is when we can rig elections terribly. So the only way we can get this done, right, is if we are able to intentionally say, you know what, we're done doing paper. Yeah, we might do the thumb printing and all of that, but from there, let's just ensure that every other process, you know, is done electronically. Maybe that way things would really change. Electoral offenses and penalties. Now, this is very important. As I said, with all the things that happened in the 2023 general elections, the what's it called, the abuses, the attacks, you know, physical attack, verbal attack, you know, threats to life and all of those things, we never saw anybody prosecuted. So imagine if we strengthen laws and bring very strict penalties that will be followed through for electoral offenses. Right? So things around vote buying, rigging and all of that, ballot box snatching, attack of people. People took cutlasses to polling unit, for goodness sake. And nobody was arrested, nothing like that happened. So imagine if we start to have strict penalties for some of these electoral offenses that we see or that happens during the elections. A lot of things will change. Nigeria, the reason we are finding ourselves in these situations over and over again is that we have refused to put certain kinds of laws in place and follow through on those laws, right? Where you do not have, where there's lawlessness, things would, of course, there would just be anyhowness in doing the thing. Until we are ready to follow through some of these laws and enact some laws and actually follow through and let people see other people go to jail or see other people, you understand, like literally penalties for some of the things that we do, the crimes that we commit, then Nigeria will be ready to change, right? We must promote inclusivity. I'd mentioned this earlier. We can't marginalize anybody from any region. Let's stop this nonsense about, oh, you are from the East, go to your East and go and vote. You are from this, but meanwhile, you are collecting the Easterners taxpayers' money in a different state. As long as the person is registered in a particular state and the person has, you know, eligibility to stay in that state, then the person should be allowed to vote freely without any fear, right? To say that, oh, there will be any form of attack and all of that. So that inclusivity is very important. We must review and amend our current Electoral Act to address the ambiguities and the inadequacies. So if you remember, even though electronic transmission is currently in that act, but it was now subject to INEC's interpretation, that is ambiguous. That is ambiguous. We need to strip this Electoral Act in a way that it is now clear. Let's not do lawyer English. Let it be black and white. Let the layman understand that this is exactly what is happening. If our leaders want to prove to us that they actually want a country where there is renewed hope, because that is the mandate to which Tinubu is president today, renewed hope. If you want to prove to us that you actually are a president that wants to give people renewed hope, you must address the situation of our electoral reforms. The Electoral Act must be reviewed. We must be ready to integrate technology to enhance the electoral processes. We must not start to leave electronic transmission of results, right, to the interpretation of INEC. No, it has to be sacrosanct that all results must be electronically transmitted. If the system is down, come back a second day to come and vote or something. But instead of us having that thing is there, but it is subject to INEC's interpretation, that should be abolished. If you really want to renew the hope of Nigerians to have faith in the electoral processes, right, then we must start to see transparency in our elections. As much as we can, we have a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. How are we harnessing those people? The people are able to, how do we start to intentionally get them to be able to also be part of the electoral process in Nigeria? American citizens living in Nigeria, they are able to vote for the US. All American citizens living outside of the US, they are able to vote. And this is because technology has made it so. So we can also leverage technology. We have the money, we have everything in this country. If you know the amount of money that INEC always calls every year, that is their budget, then you know that it's not lack of money. It is just the will to do the right thing. Because if you do the right thing, it means that you will subject yourself to transparency. And I don't think our leaders are really ready to subject themselves to transparency. Voter education is one of the solutions also. We must implement voter education programs to increase awareness and participation. What I'm doing here today is one of it. But imagine if we have different stations across Nigeria and intentionally infusing voter education, maybe once every week or something. Let us be clear about educating the people on the implications of vote buying or vote selling or whatever, or rigging. Let us start to intentionally engage voters, right, and educate them on the importance of selecting the right leaders. But you see, this voter education thing, they have left it to NGOs. They have left it to, civil society groups and all of that to do it for us. But for a government that really wants to put, transparency at the forefront of their governance, and they really want to renew the hope of people, then you must be clear to say, okay, you know what, I want to start to intentionally educate people why they must vote for XYZ, and these are the things to look out for when you want to vote. If we do this voter education program and we do it effectively, politicians will start to work, because they know at that point you can't convince anybody. The only way you can convince an uneducated person to say, vote for me, is that the uneducated person has seen that, 2 years ago, this road was unmotorable, but this year, I'm able to go to my farm, I'm able to take my children to a village school that is properly, built, and all of that, and equipped. That is your campaign. You don't need to do too much. Because why? They've seen the dividends of whatever it is that they've done, in terms of voting for that leader. So voter education is supposed to be a duty of any government that truly wants to renew the hope of the people, especially when it comes to the electoral processes. Collaborations and partnerships, right? We must foster collaboration between INEC and civil society organizations and international partners to continue to support electoral reforms. Now this, if we're intentional about ensuring that INEC stands independent, then INEC would need support groups so that there's no victimization. International observers, everybody would see that, yes, so INEC has delivered on their mandate, and they have delivered, a very transparent, credible, and fair election. And they actually need some of this partnership, this collaboration, to be able to help them get that job done. Because now there will be close monitoring and reporting. So if they're under Durex or whatever it is that they do sometimes to let them declare results, all of those things will be taken out of the picture. Judicial reforms as well. I've said this several times. No matter what INEC is doing, even if INEC decides to do the right thing, at the level of going to the courts, right? At the level of going to the courts, the judiciary's capacity to handle electoral disputes might also become a problem, because if they're not able to deliver on a transparent judgment based on facts and not not trying to favor a particular party, then that will also be a problem. Some of the things we also want to do when we talk about some of these recommendations on implementing the strategies, right? We must engage with stakeholders. So we're talking political parties, we're talking civil society organizations, we're talking citizens. We must engage all stakeholders to build consensus and support for these reforms. So we are fighting for these electoral reforms. At this point, the way we can implement these electoral reforms is that we must start to now gather all stakeholders. This is not the time to just be talking on social media. No. Randy Peters, one of our frequent contributors and a friend of the house, he actually went to the National Assembly today to submit this electoral reform petition. I've actually asked him for a copy of that letter. So we see what it is. Let's start to educate the citizens so we can all as citizens come together and back those kinds of things, because we must present it to the Senate. We must go to the National Assembly and say, these are our demands. If you want us to come out to vote in 2027, these are the things that we want so that we can vote and we are sure that our vote will count. Senator Ireti Kingigbe said a lot of Nigerian youth, we talk, no action. And we don't have constructive engagement. So one of the things that Peter Randis have done today is going to the National Assembly to go and submit. So he has told me that they asked him to readdress the petition so that he can go and resubmit it again. Those are the kinds of engagement that we need. So we have to be all hands on deck, come together. Let us write some of these things, because guess what? We cannot wait. If we keep waiting, then things will not change. Capacity building. We must provide training and capacity building programs for INEC officials, for security agencies, for the electoral stakeholders. So even the people voting as well, because those are part of the stakeholders. The INEC officials, how well are they being trained? You know, some of them can't do well under duress. One of the challenges that I've seen, I've said this several times, that poverty has been weaponized in this country. When you are paying an INEC staff $200,000 as salary, and somebody comes and offers the person $10,000, $50,000 as bribe, what do you think will happen? It's a no-brainer. So all of these things are part of it. Public awareness, right? We must launch public awareness campaigns to continue to educate the citizens about electoral reforms and how they play a role in ensuring that we are electing the right leaders. All of these things are all part of what sums up a more holistic approach to the challenges that we have, especially as regards to leadership. Finally, I'll touch on monitoring and evaluation. So we must establish a monitoring and evaluation framework to track the progress and identify areas of improvement. As I've said several times on this particular conversation today, one of the biggest challenges that we have is that INEC is not an independent body. They say that their full name, the acronym INEC, means Independent National Electoral Commission. But we are not seeing that independence. So we need to intentionally build that independence. We need to be able to help them and monitor and evaluate the processes. We need to keep doing all of that so that we are able to then say, you know what, I think at this point we can be proud and we can boast of a free, fair, and credible election. Thank you so much for watching. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave it here for today. Let's not keep quiet. As I've said, if you follow Randy Peters, you know, he's a friend of the house. He's done a lot of things. Let's follow. I want to follow that particular, petition that they are submitting at the National Assembly. Let's all follow it. Nigerians, we are too docile as citizens. We talk. We complain. The real issue that the politicians know all the time, and that's why they'll continue to do some of the things that they do, is that we do not act. And all talk and no act, nothing will change. So let us be intentional about acting. And I'm not talking protest. No. Hit it where it matters. One of the biggest things that would help us is electoral reform. So we've identified some of the challenges we had in the 2023 general elections. So imagine if we say, okay, INEC, please, we can't do 2027 like that. Let's come back, reevaluate, and see, we had problem here, change them. We had problem here, change them. What do you think will happen? We'll have a better system to work with. We cannot improve the system if we are not engaging the system. So we need to intentionally engage the system for us to transform our country. All right. Thank you again for watching tonight. Before I go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Remember to like, share, invite your families and friends to continue to watch and follow the show. If you missed our quote for the day, it says, this achievement reflects our enduring commitment to responsible economic governance and national development. I like what the Speaker of the House of Representatives has said, Tajuddin. I'm just hoping that you're able to follow through, right? I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m., and enjoy the rest of your evening. Ciao.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Raise Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.